Okay, Kinesiology 223, still in chapter 19, presentation number 2, talking specifically regarding reasons not to exercise and sedentary behavior. Uh, Pretty common to hear these things for reasons not to exercise. I just don't have the time, I don't have the energy, I'm not motivated to do it. But I will tell you, when you work with your people, you have, let me jump back here. You have different points of research that they note in the book that talk about some of the inhibitors, the things that keep people from going into the gym. And they talk about also like some of the limitations we saw in the previous presentation where it could be age related, could be uh, physical status related, meaning injuries per se, it could be gender or sex. But the point that they make is there's really like these main drivers is like lack of time, lack of energy, lack of motivation. And it's really a case where, you have to be able to get people to buy into. They may not be the sporty type, right? That's like an internal barrier they talk about there with as being an older adult. And they may not have a perception of being that person, but once they get into the gym and they start moving around, it's a little different animal, right? They get more comfortable. But I'll stress this to you if you're going to go into the personal training environment. Your clients want to make a physical change, whatever it is. They want to lose weight, they want to get in shape, whatever that looks like to them. And so to make a physical change, they're asking you to be a part of a process to help make a behavioral change. It could be working out, it could be nutrition oriented, it could be pre-ab, rehab, could be any number of different things. Many times the lever to that behavioral change requires a little bit of emotional change on your client's part. They have to do some work on their side to understand what may have got them there in the first place and what are the things they can do to kind of unravel that ball of yarn. But I can't stress this enough. If you want physical change, you have to make behavioral change. And if there's behavioral change involved, there's going to be emotional work or change that has to happen. That is not in the book. That's just an Adrian annotation. That won't be quizzed anywhere. But that's a takeaway for you to understand in this industry what happens. And then there's a certain regard, in a certain regard, it's the same with your athletes too. If you want to be a great basketball player, you got to make a change. You got to be great at preparing to be a great basketball player. And sometimes you may have to unload some emotional baggage to do that. Friends have to fall off by the wayside. Maybe, you have to find time to make that happen that conflicts with other things in your life. I mean, there's some emotional baggage you might have to sift through to make the behavioral change, to make the physical change. Anyways, back to our book. The 6 main reasons that the book lists why people don't exercise, and they're denoted here in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have health issues, inconvenience, lack of motivation, energy, lack of social support, not enough time, and lack of money. And I can rationalize a lot of these. I can work through a lot of these. From the original 6, if you're a hockey player, you'll know what I'm referencing there. But they kind of expand upon that lack of time, lack of energy, lack of motivation. I would say take a moment to kind of review both these 6 reasons and also these other 3, because with the time and the energy and the lack of motivation, this gets into many times it's their perception of not having enough time, their perception of not having enough energy, and their lack of motivation is also something that's intrinsic or internal to the person. And they kind of expand on these for a reason. But the other ones, health issues, inconvenience, lack of social support, not enough money, those are also valid, and they'll kind of elaborate a little bit later. So they talk about sedentary behavior. Now, sedentary behavior is kind of sitting time, and that can happen at work, school, in a car, you're in front of a TV or a computer. And there's a conversation in here about sedentary behavior and non-sedentary. And the definition is sedentary is a total lack of exercise. And that's seen up here. With sedentary behavior, that would be like sitting time. And they make a point, and I like this, I really appreciate this, because you can have people who maybe are involved in an exercise program, and they work pretty hard and they get their 150 minutes of workout per week, they're classified as active, but also they enjoy sitting on the couch and watching reruns of Friends or The Office, right? And so as a result, they have a balance between their activity time, physical activity time, and their sedentary time. That's not to say that they are completely sedentary. What they actually are, when they look at this, and they say, therefore, a person who takes low levels of physical activity, less than the minimum, but doesn't sit much during the day, is not really sedentary, but simply termed inactive. So they have some nuance in here in this paragraph that I urge you to kind of parse out and realize you can have somebody who is highly physically active, but they're partaking in sedentary behavior as part of like downtime. And you can also have inactivity. So just take a moment, when you have a chance, dig through that paragraph. So specific health outcomes, right? With sedentary behavior, you have decreased levels of fitness, lower self-esteem, lower academic achievement, increased adipose tissue, and lower pro-social behavior. And you recall pro-social behavior and antisocial behavior from a previous chapter. What I liked about this is, they talk about how you have people, individuals high on extroversion were low on screen activities, meaning television, electronic gaming, and sitting time. And we become a society where everybody's just glued to their phone and glued to their notebook computer or to their TV. And I would say, you want to reduce some of that sedentary time, not only just for the fact that usually you're sitting while doing it, but also there's usually such negativity associated with watching the news or scrolling, doom scrolling, if I can use that terminology. And I think it has its place to just kind of put the electronics down and enjoy what's around you for a little bit and get up and move around. It certainly changes one's mindset. All right, so much like a coach will set the tone for the team, it's the same in a house. And I say this because you think of, like, we talked about team culture, you can have family culture, but I would also say, like, much like in coaching, there's a difference between behavior intervention and established behavioral norms. If you are a family of sedentary people and your kids are not accustomed to activity, or they're not accustomed to having the screen shut off for a couple hours a night, and you come in heavy-handed and try to shut the router off and the modem, and you'll have an absolute revolt in your house. So you may have to incrementally implement this into your household, but if you're somebody who already has this as part of your lifestyle, and then you end up kind of building your family with this as part of the process, this becomes an established behavioral norm, right? It's no longer an intervention. It's something that's just part of the behavior and the character and the culture of your household and your family. So I would tell you that some of these are very great ideas, but I would also tell you some of them are very difficult to try to implement within the family environment when you have children who are already indoctrinated to screen time as a pacifying device. So the books list several ways to, several different practical interventions. And I would say you're probably going to want to take a look at like SMART there, S-M-A-R-T. Also with the practical recommendations, these are all things that I'm sure you've seen before. You're parking further away and walking into work. You're using a standing desk like I'm using right now. You walk during your coffee break. Maybe you stand during a phone conference call. Different things. You can take stairs, for example. These are all very simple interventions that have been utilized, quite frankly, in the industry for a number of years. So I'm going to break off of this one and go to the next one.